Come to Lowndes High School now. There's a dead body out here.
Okay, where at, sir?
Lowndes High School in the old gym.
The next day, Kendrick was found upside down in a rolled cheerleading mat like these.
January 11th, 2013, the body of Kendrick Johnson was discovered inside a vertical rolled-up mat in the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, where he was a student. After a preliminary investigation, an autopsy concluded that Johnson's death was accidental. His family had a private pathologist conduct a second autopsy, which concluded that he died from blunt force trauma. This is a picture of Kendrick Johnson's body inside the gym mat after it was moved onto its side. The gym mat was discovered standing upright. And this was ruled accidental initially. No foul play. Excuse me. Seems they love those words. When there's foul play. When there's foul play, they say no foul play. And they edit the footage. Just an observation. What a sad, sad sight. Know that that young man is rolled up in that mat. To see him right there. This is why his family wasn't going for it. They weren't buying it. This is why they didn't stop, and they're still pushing for justice. Because this was no damn accident. On January 11, 2013, the body of Kendrick Johnson was discovered in the gymnasium of Lowndes High School in Valdosta, Georgia, found head first in the center of a vertical rolled-up wrestling mat. The body was discovered by fellow students who had climbed up to the top of a cluster of mats, each of which stood nearly 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide. An autopsy by the Georgia Bureau of Investigation stated that Johnson had died from positional asphyxia, and the case was ruled an accidental death by the Lowndes County investigator. Authorities hypothesized that Johnson had fallen into the mat while looking for a shoe and died after being unable to get out. 3 students at Lowndes High School told investigators that it was common for some students to store their shoes behind or under the rolled-up mats. Johnson was not wearing shoes when he was found. A student at the school said that he shared a pair of Adidas shoes with Johnson. And after gym class, Johnson would always go to the mats, jump up, and toss the shoes inside the middle of the hole. Lieutenant Stride Jones, who headed up the investigation for the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, stated, "We never had credible information that indicated this was anything other than an accident." Johnson's family questioned this hypothesis. Unsatisfied with the result of the investigation, they hired an independent autopsy conducted by William R. Anderson with forensic dimensions in Heathrow, Florida, on June 15, 2013. Anderson claimed that his findings indicated traces of blunt force trauma to the right neck and soft tissues, and suggested the death was not accidental. Subsequent events and legal actions. After the opinion of the private pathologist was released, Johnson's family stated that they believed Johnson had been murdered.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, you've been showing a photo of your son's face showing these injuries, and I would like to show that photo to our viewers with your permission. I know that it is graphic, but you have shown it before. And Mr. Johnson, you mentioned that you knew from the very beginning that something was wrong because of that photo that you saw. Would it be okay for me to show that photo to our viewers?
Yes.
Okay, so our viewers, please be warned that this is a very graphic photo, but important in this case. Now it's clear, I think, for anyone seeing this very graphic photo that this cannot possibly have resulted from someone just falling into a mat. And so I think that begs the question then, what really happened here and why the stonewalling? And Ben Crump, you and I know each other now pretty well after the Trayvon Martin case, and you are, I think at this point, our country's preeminent civil rights lawyer. Is this a civil rights case? Is that why you are involved here? Has race played a factor here?
Well, I think it's a civil rights case, but not in the traditional way when we think of civil rights based on race, even though that may be a factor. Sonny, I think Kendrick Johnson's civil rights were violated because, like every American, he had the right to due process to get the full prosecution of the law, the proper investigation into his tragic death. These parents sent their child to school with a book bag, and he was returned to them the next day in a body bag. And the sheriff offers the explanation that he climbed in a wrestling mat and got stuck and stopped breathing. It defies all logic, laws of physics, and common sense. They have a right to know what happened to their child. It's every parent's worst nightmare who send their children off to school every day thinking they will return, and at least if they don't return, that the government officials will tell them what happened to their child. Their child was murdered, and it is being covered up for some reason that the Johnsons or nobody understands.
Oh my God, that photo. What did they do to that baby? And how the hell can you call that an accident? Ever, at all, at any point in the whole investigation. How in the hell was that an accident? Oh my God. I've never seen that picture before, so. Let's remember a few good things about it. Yes, it's a part of his story too.
He was nice, bright, funny guy.
He was a character.
He was athletic, and he just loved to smile and laugh and have fun. He played football, basketball, and ran track.
What were his dreams?
Football, play football for the Gators.
A high school student is found in a rolled up gym mat dead by classmates. It's ruled an accident, but was it? That's our bold question for our jury. Was the high school gym mat death a murder? Welcome to the HLNTV.com evidence room. I'm here with Joseph Scott Morgan, former death investigator. And all the evidence that you're going to see now, you can see on our website, HLNTV.com/afterdark, if you want to take a closer look. But let's take a look at some of these photos. Let's first give everyone a perspective, and our jury has all these photos as well. A perspective of the gymnasium itself. As you see this whole area, and you can see the gym mats rolled up. It's a blue gym mat that's back there. That is the one that is actually in question. We'll take a closer look right here, and you can see this is the blue gym mat where, in fact, Kendrick Johnson was found. Now we'll take an even closer look so you can see what folks found. And let me start here, Joseph Scott Morgan, with this picture. They say the gym mat was inverted, so it was perpendicular to the ground, right? It's vertically, is the way he's found. His sneakers are there. He's like this. He dies. Does that make any sense to you?
No, it really doesn't, Ben. And then we begin to talk about these things like positional asphyxia that they're bringing in. It's not uncommon to find people in tight spaces that essentially can no longer breathe because they're compromised as a result of being in this particular position. But for a young man that's rather strong to be in a mat like this, that's made out of foam essentially, to be inverted and not be able to tip the thing back over. And what's really strange is that his shoes are off of his feet and they're immediately adjacent to the
I want to show folks the shoes because there's a video clip that we grabbed right here. And if you look down here, you can see that he's wearing these white shoes into the gym. This is a surveillance video. We took a screen grab of that video. So you can see he's wearing white sneakers in there. Now, the allegation is that the entire thing is all about these sneakers, that these sneakers were at the bottom of that gym mat and he was climbing in trying to retrieve them because that's where he kept these sneakers.
Yes.
Does that make sense to you, the fact that the blood is found here at the bottom on these shoes?
Well, let me explain to you what can happen if you're in an inverted position and you're looking at positional asphyxia. It is possible for you to generate blood out of the small vessels in your nose and in your mouth. This is a copious amount of blood, a lot of blood that has come about. And he's also got a very swollen area on the side of his head with underlying trauma. And this is what's so disturbing about this. And my question is, I think these mats are not terribly heavy. Why not just turn the mat on its side and get to the shoe that way as opposed to climbing down in the thing?
Yeah, that's what would make sense. And take a closer look at that shoe. There is a second shoe that matches that one that was found in front of these mats. Remember, this mat is over here where Kendrick is. This one is found here. We'll take a closer look at that shoe, and you can see it matches the other one, but obviously this one not covered with blood. We've got some more photos to show everyone. And by the way, these shoes I found were the ones that he wore to play basketball, because we've got his basketball position picture here.
So as you can see, it was clear very early on that something was wrong here. Even though somehow called it accidental.
In this video, released for the first time by the Valdosta Daily Times, we are able to follow 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson on his final walk through the halls of Lowndes High School. Kendrick's path takes him through C wing of the building, following his third block class, which was dismissed at 1:25. We see the smiling 17-year-old make the turn and continue past the guidance and administration offices. Unlike earlier video, this video contains a timestamp from the surveillance system servers, and we can witness Kendrick enter the hallway to the gymnasium at 1:27. This time is likely accurate as it coincides with the number of students in the hallways as they would be changing classes at 1:25. Kendrick continues unimpeded down the hallway, passing other students and entering the gym at around 1:28. Note the timestamp from the still image displays a time of 12:59. Different time syncs between surveillance servers means the hallway camera was behind by 29 minutes. Cameras mounted inside the gym, which captured images of Kendrick after he passed through the doors, are on a third server, whose timestamp is 10 minutes ahead of the cameras in the hallway leading to the gym. Kendrick and another student disappear from the image after this frame, as they are both now outside the limits of the motion detection system that activates the camera. The next frame shows several students passing by. A student wearing a bright green shirt is joined by a student wearing a blue shirt. These same students can be seen on the hall camera passing through the entrance of the gymnasium approximately 3 minutes after Kendrick. Accounting for the 1 frame per second capture rate of the cameras means that 3 minutes of surveillance footage translates into 18 seconds of real time. This suggests that the time between the last frame of Kendrick and the next frame on the surveillance video is approximately the same 18 seconds. For the Valdosta Daily Times Online, I'm Brandon Powers.
1 hour of our exclusive investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson, specifically what school surveillance video can tell us about how he died and what's missing from it. Again, here's Victor Blackwell.
CNN has hired Grant Fredericks and his team at Forensic Video Solutions to analyze the hundreds of hours of surveillance from Lowndes High School. Although he does not believe the jumpy video is the result of editing, he says there are some other major problems.
Those files are not original files. They're not something that an investigator should rely on for the truth of the video. They've been altered in a number of ways, primarily in image quality, and likely in dropped information loss. There are also a number of files that are corrupted because they've not been processed correctly and they're not playable. So I can't say why they were done that way, but they were not done correctly and they were not done thoroughly. So we're missing information.
Frederick says that's likely due to how investigators acquired the surveillance video.
Right now, what they've done is they have left it up to the school district to define what it is they want to provide the police. And I think that probably is a mistake.
According to Lowndes County Sheriff's Office incident reports, a detective watched a portion of the surveillance video the day Kendrick Johnson was found. Then he asked the school board's information technology worker for a copy of the surveillance video for the entire wing of the school with the old gym for the last 48 hours. 5 days later, that IT worker provided a hard drive, and according to the incident report, the detective verified it contained the requested surveillance video.
So the investigator's responsibility is to acquire the entire digital video recording system and then have their staff define what they want to obtain. You don't want somebody who might be party to the responsibility to make the decision as to what they provide the police.
And after hours of analysis, Fredericks questions whether Lowndes County Schools provided all of the surveillance video from the old gym to investigators.
There is a whole of time where none of the cameras provide any record that I've been provided.
Fredericks has all the camera angles and all the video released by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
There are 4 cameras in the gym that records motion from when the lights turn on in the morning until when the lights are turned off at night, except for the area of interest.
The moments before Kendrick Johnson enters the gym. Look at what happens to the recordings from these 4 cameras in the gym. The time is recorded with the video. The first camera captures images from the start of the day until 12:04 p.m. Then, nothing. It picks up again at 1:09 p.m. There's consistent surveillance from the second camera until 11:05 a.m. Then it stops and picks up again more than 2 hours later at 1:15 p.m. The third camera also drops at 11:05 a.m. It picks up again at 1:16 p.m. And from the final camera, there's surveillance until 12:04 p.m., no recording for more than an hour, then it picks up again at 1:09 p.m.
I would absolutely expect there to be some record of that activity, and we don't have any here.
Here's why Fredericks would have expected the motion-activated system to record during that time. During that hour and 5 minutes, several students are seen walking into and out of the old gym from the surveillance camera just outside the gym door. We count 7 male students, and 3 of them walk into the gym within 3 minutes prior to Kendrick Johnson walking in.
I can't tell you whether there was no information recorded in the digital video system, or whether somebody made an error and didn't capture it, or whether somebody just didn't provide it.
When surveillance in the gym resumes at 1:09, we see just these few frames of Kendrick Johnson running in the gym. Here's that moment from all of the cameras in the gym, although there's a record from only 2, and the camera just outside the door. Notice, the hall camera timestamp appears to be 10 minutes behind, and there's no confirmation either time matches the exact time of day. It is the last time his image is captured on video. For the next hour, there are multiple gaps in the video surveillance in the gym.
And that is crucial. It's a really important time.
Well, it really is the only option to answer the question, really what happened.
And there's no video showing the initial discovery of a body in the gym. The next time we see Kendrick Johnson is the following day when he's being wheeled out of the gym in a body bag.
Do you believe it's a coincidence that that time period in the gym is missing?
Oh boy. Investigators are always suspicious and should be suspicious, and it's suspicious that that time period is not there. So yes, I would be suspicious, and until I have the digital video system in my hand, until I can say, or an investigator can say, everything is intact, this was what's recorded, I would still be highly suspicious of this.
So after fighting for months on a city street corner and in the county courthouse to get the surveillance video, Kendrick Johnson's parents still do not know who was in the gym before Kendrick ran in, nor who, if anyone, was there or what happened in those moments after.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. So what's the school district and the sheriff's department saying?
Well, Anderson, we sent a long list of questions to both an attorney for the sheriff's office and an attorney for the Lowndes County School District. Well, we have not received an answer to our questions from the attorney for the sheriff's office, but we have received a response from the attorney for the school district. No comment. Although that attorney has said that he will make the original hard drive available to the court. And of course, the Johnsons want to make sure that all the information from the school's hard drive was then given to the sheriff's office, which they hope eventually was all passed on to them. And of course, we'll find that out. Anderson?
Please be forewarned. The next portion of Kendrick's story is not pretty. Not that any of this has been, but it gets really graphic. This is the actual death scene video. We'll show the inside of the gym, his body in the mat, and his body as well, but not face. We saw his face in the news, but it is covered in this video. It is an actual death scene video. So it's not your thing. You may want to fast forward about 11 minutes and 9 seconds. Just remember, it happened. And it happened just like this. You have to tell his story, as gory as it may get. Now, I know that wasn't easy to watch, and I can't tell you that it gets any easier. But if you think it's hard for you and me, think about if it was your son, if you were his mom or dad, and you had to watch this footage and see your baby rolled up in that damn mat. And you were being told it was an accident, case closed. You do. Well, Johnsons keep fighting. Even though the odds were stacked against them. They were trying to be shut down. They didn't let it happen. This is still ongoing. But at this point, we're still trying to figure out, was it an accident or murder? My mind was already made up.
Exclusive information, some disturbing new evidence, photos and videos that only raise more questions. And we do want to warn you, some of the video you're about to see is graphic, difficult to watch. Here's Victor's report.
It's the only video shot inside the Lowndes High School gym the day 17-year-old Kendrick Johnson was found dead. And with his parents' approval, we're showing it for the first time. Lowndes County, Georgia investigators say Kendrick's death was a tragic accident, that he climbed onto these rolled gym mats to reach for this shoe at the center of one mat, slipped, got stuck upside down, and died. County officials say the blood in this photo spilled after Kendrick's heart had stopped pumping hours after he had died. But Kendrick's parents say the photo and the video show something else.
There's enough evidence to show that Kendrick was murdered.
CNN has exclusively obtained the 15-minute video and nearly 700 photos of the scene taken by Lowndes County investigators. And for the first time, Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, are ready to look at them, including these pictures of orange and black gym shoes investigators found just yards from Kendrick's body.
Did these shoes belong to Kendrick?
No.
When you look at these shoes that were at the scene, what stands out to you?
The blood on the shoe.
But investigators say tests show the stains are something other than blood, so the shoes were not collected as potential evidence.
I don't understand why you didn't.
CNN took the photos to independent private investigator and former FBI special agent Harold Kopis. If you were on this scene, would this have been something you would have left?
No. Bag and tag.
There's no indication investigators ever even looked for the owner of the shoes or this hooded sweatshirt found a few feet from Kendrick's body.
And if you look real close, there's something on this particular cuff. And then the question is, was it blood? Did you test it?
According to the crime lab report, no.
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
For the Johnsons, there's no stronger indicator than this photo. It's of what appears to be blood dripping down a wall. Here's what Lowndes County Lieutenant Stride Jones told CNN about that wall in May.
And we tested it, and it was blood. Now, we did DNA testing, and it was not the blood of Kendrick Johnson.
If it wasn't Kendrick blood, who blood was it?
Did you ever find out who it was or any involved?
No, as of now we haven't, no. But it doesn't appear to be related to our crime in any way.
What do you think about the decision not to test it further?
You can't explain it. If you're running the crime scene, then you're going to say that's potential evidence. Obviously, we're going to check this out and find out who does it belong to.
This is an athletic gym. I mean, obviously, this is where they conduct various athletic classes and instructions at.
A kid couldn't have scraped their knee or arm or something and got that much blood on the wall.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 impacts.
The opinion of our crime scene personnel, after looking at it closely, the blood appeared as it had been there for an extended period of time. It didn't appear to be very fresh.
School gym. There is no way that they would allow whoever was supposed to clean this gym to leave that blood on that wall.
Exactly.
And there's the question, why was there no blood where they expected to see lots of blood? Remember the photo of that shoe investigators say was inches below Kendrick's head? Look at it again.
If he was inside the mat, reaching for that shoe, inside this tube, reaching for the shoe, and the shoe is beneath him, why isn't that shoe covered with blood?
And what do you think about that shoe not being covered with blood?
It was placed there.
Yeah.
Hey, Sheriff Ryan. Hi. Victor Blackwell, CNN.
Chris Pryor.
The Sheriff's Department has denied a cover-up, but we took the Johnsons' concerns to Lowndes County Sheriff Chris Prime.
Got some questions about the Kendrick Johnson case.
I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Why not, sir?
Because our case is closed.
The family has some concerns about why some things were not taken into evidence. There was blood on the wall.
I'm not going to discuss the case with you.
And why is that?
Because I don't want to.
Then, less than a minute after he'd invited us in,
what did you not understand that I said? I'm through talking to him.
He ushered us out.
Thank you, Sheriff Prime.
I don't believe this was an accident. I think this young man met with foul play.
The Justice Department is reviewing the pictures and the video to decide if it'll launch a federal investigation into Kendrick's death. But for Kendrick's father, the evidence is clear.
Someone murdered him. They should be in jail. They are covering it up. They should be in jail.
Victor Blackwell joins us now. So the former FBI agent says that the crime scene was contaminated. How so?
Well, Harold Kopis says that it's crime scene 101, that when you're on a scene investigating, you wear the shoe protectors. Those are the blue booties you see on the crime shows on television. Well, look at these pictures. You can see here that these investigators are not wearing the shoe protectors, and it's not so much to protect the scene, rather to protect your shoes, but it's to protect the scene from anything you could track in. And Kopis says because they're not wearing those protectors, this scene was obviously contaminated.
And clearly, you tried to talk to the sheriff there. They clearly didn't want to talk. Is there anyone tied to the investigation who is willing to talk?
Well, we went to speak with the superintendent of Lowndes County Schools, Wes Taylor, and we asked him about the blood on the wall and how long it had been there. Also, I mean, if the theory is true that he slipped into these mats after climbing onto the bleacher to get the shoe, are the mats still there? His answer to most of our questions: we are cooperating with the Georgia Bureau of Investigations. He wouldn't go further than that.
You would think someone who works at that school would either be able to say, oh yeah, I remember when a student, bled all over the wall in 6 different places, or not. It'd be interesting to hear if they've been talked to. What about the Department of Justice? Where are they in the status of their investigation?
The U.S. Attorney in Macon, who covers this district, his name is Michael Moore, and we've spoken with him several times, and each time he says that he is reviewing the information from the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office, and he is going to work to decide if he will open a criminal investigation. Now, just a few weeks ago, we heard from the Civil Rights Division. They've said that they will not open an investigation through their department, but it still could be opened as a criminal investigation. Michael Moore says he could come up with that decision in a week or in a month. He doesn't feel rushed. He wants to make sure that he gets it right.
Kendrick's family even went as far as to have his body exhumed to get to the truth. I want to give some love to LRJ TV. We're going to share a portion of his video. Please go over and give him a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're interested.
Jacqueline Johnson knew something was wrong when their 17-year-old son Kendrick did not come home from school January 10th.
Come to Lowndes High School now. There's a dead body out here.
Okay, where at, sir?
Lowndes High School in the old gym.
The next day, Kendrick was found upside down in a rolled cheerleading mat like these. Who was 5'10", was reaching for a shoe that had fallen into the center of a 6-foot mat, and he got stuck. A tragic accident.
Said there was no foul play. He had no bruises, no nothing.
Did you believe that?
No.
And you still don't believe it?
No, I don't.
They think the story about the mat is a cover-up.
Well, I didn't know what to think.
According to Georgia law, Coroner Bill Watson should have been contacted immediately. Kendrick's body was found at about 10:30.
I was notified at 3:45.
Lieutenant Stride Jones is with the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
It's a very time-consuming process to basically work your way from the outside in. Once our investigators got to the deceased, the coroner was contacted immediately.
The only reason that I was questioning this incident whatsoever was I wasn't called to the scene in a timely fashion.
Rock, and it would have fell over. I tried to get in it. I couldn't get no forward my neck muscles into the mat.
Then there's this photo of Kendrick's face.
As handsome as my son was, then you see him like that. It's
the second time Jacqueline Johnson cried next to her son Kendrick's grave. The first time he was being lowered into the ground. This time he's being pulled out of it.
Did you ever expect you'd have to exhume his body?
No, I didn't expect to have to bury his body.
In June, Kendrick's body was sent to Florida. The Johnsons hired Dr. Bill Anderson to conduct an independent second autopsy. In that autopsy, Anderson told the Johnsons he'd found evidence that Kendrick died as the result of a blow to the neck and not accidental asphyxia after slipping into a rolled gym mat at school, as investigators in Georgia had said. But what Dr. Anderson did not find shocked them.
When we got the body for the second autopsy, that organs, the heart, lungs, liver, etc., were not with the body.
The brain?
The brain, they were all absent.
Every organ from the top of Kendrick's head to his pelvis gone. A spokeswoman for the state tells CNN after its autopsy, the organs were placed in Johnson's body, the body was closed, then the body was released to the funeral home. State investigators say it's their normal practice, but what happened after his body arrived at the funeral home was anything but normal. Dr. Anderson showed me the pictures of Kendrick's body he'd taken during the second autopsy.
It's a Black Friday ad, JCPenney ad.
Yes.
Stuffing that newspaper in like it was a garbage can inside his body. It's unbelievable.
So what exactly did the Harrington Funeral Home do with Kendrick's organs? And why was he stuffed with old newspaper? We went to their office to find out, but their response to us? No comment. However, in a letter to the Johnsons' attorney, Harrington Funeral Home owner Antonio Harrington denies he received Kendrick's organs. He writes in part, his internal organs were destroyed through natural process and henceforth were discarded before the body was sent back to Valdosta. It's another disappointing answer for parents determined to know what happened to their son before and now after his death.
We contacted the Georgia Secretary of State's office because they issued licenses to funeral homes. We wanted to check on the history of Harrington Funeral Home. And when we told them why we were calling, they decided that they too wanted to know where are Kendrick Johnson's organs, and they wanted to know more about this process, this practice of stuffing bodies with newspaper, something that they'd never heard of either.
How was the family's autopsy doctor able to determine the cause of death then?
Yeah, I asked him, if the organs aren't there, how can you determine how Kendrick died? Well, he says that essentially blunt force trauma was not in the organs. It was in the right side jaw, which was actually noted as bruised during the paramedics report on the day he was found. He dissected the jaw, which had not been dissected in the first autopsy, found bleeding under the skin. He dissected the left side as well, did not find the bleeding, and he concluded that that bruising indicated, also with the bleeding, that there was blunt force trauma, that Kendrick took that blow to the neck.
You know, Victor, one thing I hadn't noticed, and actually a viewer who works in gyms noticed and tweeted me about this the other day, was that it looks like all the mats are rolled really tightly, except for the one that Kendrick was found in. That seems to have had a large opening.
America, I joke a lot. But in my past years as an investigator, very successful, working for the state, let me tell you right now, this is bullshit.
Mm-hmm. As you can see, he's very passionate about this, and I understand, because this is some bullshit. I mean, just a huge steaming pile of it. Bad enough someone murdered their baby and covered it up. After the fact, someone takes all of his organs and stuffs them with newspaper. Yeah, absolute bullshit. There is no nice way to say it. It should never happen to anybody.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Timmy Jones. Thanks for calling me back. I appreciate it.
No problem, sir. How may I help you?
Yeah, I was asking about the Kendrick Johnson case. I know you was the lead on the case, correct?
There's so much.
Sorry?
Were you the lead on the case for Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir. Actually, I was not. But I might can answer any questions. How could I help you?
Yeah, I was asking because I know it came out in the news that the second autopsy came out saying that it may have been foul play involved. I'm trying to see if y'all responded to that. Have y'all been made aware of that? What's the response of the Sheriff's Department?
We have been supplied a copy of the autopsy this week, but we don't have any comment further than that. Is the investigation still ongoing? Or we don't have any comment other than that.
Other than that, okay. So like y'all have either way. Okay, cool. All right. So will y'all make anything? Will y'all have a conference, a press conference, or any news available anytime soon?
Don't know. It depends on what develops or what takes place. So I'm not sure. I don't anticipate anything, and certainly, if something were to develop, then we would offer to meet with the family first prior to making any information public.
Okay, what would be the best way to keep up with this? Like, if somebody want to inquire about what's going on, what would be the best way to follow this case?
I don't know. I mean, probably through local media. If anything's released, obviously we release it to the local media first, just because that's who we have contact with.
Well, actually, this then, I know you can't comment on that, I guess, that case directly, but it was something that came up I got from the news following about the coroner situation with Bill Watson. He said he was called to the scene hours later, when I guess it's like a violation type of law, from my understanding, in Georgia, about the place of the coroner at the scene of the crime. He was called in hours later, and the question of the body being moved.
Okay. The only thing I would suggest, and this is the same suggestion we've made to everyone, the file has been made public, and certainly any information to that regard is in that case file, and that would be what I would suggest to you, is file an open records request, and you can certainly get a copy of it, and everything that you need to know is right there in that file. And I'm sure that investigative file will be able to answer a lot of your questions, if not all of them.
I appreciate that, but also what do you think about, I had talked to the family over the weekend, and it's like people have lost trust or faith in the sheriff department to do a competent job in terms of investigating this case. Do you feel people are outside warranty, or you think that people are kind of jumping to conclusions?
I think we conducted a complete and thorough investigation. It was supported by the findings of the autopsy, which is a completely separate and independent investigation. And I think the Justice Department saying that there's no evidence to open a case speaks for itself, and we would leave it at that.
I guess because the loss of a loved one in that type of fashion, I know it's hard for people to accept anybody, not knowing the answers, but you're saying that as far as that everything was done to the letter. I think people are concerned about the fact that it was called so quick. That it was called, an accident.
No, sir, that is incorrect. It was not officially.
First block went by, second block came by, and that's when the tragedy happened.
At the young age of 16 years old, Bryant Thagard witnessed something most people hope to never experience. He was among several students who found a classmate dead in the Lowndes High School's old gymnasium. He says it was around 10:30 a.m. when his friend went to play with wrestling mats in the gym.
She thought somebody was hiding at first, and come to see, me and my other friend and a couple other people got up on the mats and figured out that it was a body, didn't know it was dead.
After the body was discovered, the entire school was put on lockdown. Thagard says he, along with the other students who found the sophomore, were held for hours as investigators questioned them about what they saw.
We're all going through this, and we'll get through it.
This incident has shocked the entire community.
I received a text message, and when I first got it, I thought it was some kind of joke or hoax.
From the friends that I know, he was a football player, and the football team has just lost another player earlier this year.
The sheriff's office and Lowndes County Schools had this to say: nothing has been discovered to indicate foul play was involved. And in consideration of the family, they're not releasing the name of the student at this time.
I'm not sure if it's hit me yet, but
Thagard says it was a difficult thing for him to go through, but that he's doing okay. In Valdosta, Garen Flowers, WCTV, Eyewitness News.
Today, for the very first time, we're hearing from a classmate of Johnson's who was inside of that gym when his body was found.
They pulled down the mat, and his legs and feet were hanging out of the mat. He wasn't moving, and the smell, it smelled bad. You could smell it. The shock had, left us all, and we'd realized that one of our classmates had died in our school right beneath us.
And the fight continued.
What do you want?
Justice for KJ!
When you want it?
Now!
After months of rallies, marches, and sit-ins, and the announcement of a federal investigation into the death of Kendrick Johnson,
I will follow the facts wherever they lead.
CNN has learned FBI agents are now conducting interviews in South Georgia. Kendrick's parents, Kenneth and Jacqueline Johnson, recently sat with investigators for nearly 3 hours. The Johnsons want to know what happened to their son. It's a question Jacqueline Johnson first asked 1 year ago.
Lowndes 911, where's your emergency?
Yes, I'm calling. My son didn't come home from school today, and he still haven't got here.
Okay, what's your son's name?
Kendrick Johnson.
That was January 10th, 2013. That afternoon, the 17-year-old ran into the old gym at Lowndes High School. The following day, Kendrick Johnson was found dead, upside down in a rolled gym mat. The Johnsons never believed he died accidentally after getting stuck while reaching for this shoe, as Lowndes County investigators determined.
They know something happened in that gym, and they don't want it to come out.
The Johnsons exhumed Kendrick's body and hired an independent pathologist who determined Kendrick died from blunt force trauma to the neck, not an accident. Lowndes County Lieutenant Stride Jones spoke with CNN in May, the day after the sheriff's office closed its case.
It was not a rash decision that was leapt to by any means. I mean, we've drawn this out, done a thorough investigation, and we think we've covered all bases.
As the FBI conducts its interviews, CNN is taking an in-depth look at the accounts of the first interviews in the Kendrick Johnson case, conducted by the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office.
And we've interviewed slightly over 100 and something people during this investigation. That included students, teachers, some parents that had access during the time period of question there.
We examined every incident report included in the 522-page investigative file. According to the file, Lowndes County investigators interviewed 111 people, including 7 school employees, 3 medical responders, and more than 90 students.
It started on January 11th when Kendrick Johnson was found at Lowndes High School.
The file reveals sheriff's investigators interviewed 18 people the day Kendrick Johnson was found. We took that information to HLN analyst, a former police officer and member of the FBI response team, Mike Brooks.
I want to interview someone that day, that night, or maybe the following day while things are still fresh in your mind.
However, the documents reveal most interviews occurred months later. Here's the breakdown. Investigators interviewed 33 people in the month of January, just 4 in February, 1 in March, and 72 of the 111 interviews were conducted in April, 1 more in May.
But months later, you start to leave out possibly some crucial pieces of information, because it's your mind. Sometimes you can recall things that you might not have recalled that particular day, but to a couple days, maybe even a week after it happened. I say week on the outside, but not months, Victor, not months.
Remember, Kendrick's body was found January 11th. The first emergency medical technicians called to the scene, initially for a reported cardiac arrest, were interviewed April 17th. The paramedic, who noticed bruising to Kendrick's jaw and considered the gym to be a crime scene, was interviewed April 18th. The janitors, who cleaned the gym where the body was found yards from these blood streaks on a wall, were among the last to be interviewed on April 26th. Local investigators believe the blood is unrelated. However, they've never found whose blood it was or how it got there. And according to their report, the investigators did not ask the janitors about that blood. And look again at the school surveillance video. This was the last time Kendrick Johnson was seen alive. There were other students in the gym, but the investigators' reports have no record of interviews with any of these students.
I looked at the crime scene investigation, evidence collection, the autopsy, the interviews that were done and were not done in a timely fashion. This is a sloppy case from the get-go.
After the U.S. attorney announced the federal investigation, the attorney for the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office wrote to CNN in part, "While Sheriff Prine has every confidence that his officer's investigation was handled with the necessary diligence to assure that all leads were examined and exhausted, he welcomes the U.S. attorney's further review of the case."
What do you want? Justice!
The Johnsons and their supporters now hope the FBI will get an answer to their question. What happened to Kendrick Johnson?
That's my child, and we're going to fight until it's all over, until we get the truth. That's all we've ever asked for, was the truth about what happened to Kendrick Johnson.
Fast forwarding a little bit, and the tides, they seem to be changing.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says his office has received new information in the death investigation of Kendrick Johnson.
8 years ago, Johnson's body was found rolled up in a gym mat at Lowndes County High School. His family has always suspected foul play, but his death was ruled an accident. This month, Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Paulk announced officials were reopening the investigation, and now he says authorities have an audio recording of someone admitting to Johnson's death. According to Sheriff Paulk, it was Kendrick Johnson's mother who obtained the recording and turned it into investigators.
They had a recording that they had actually purchased from an individual who said that it would be valuable as far as saying who possibly had committed the crime in the KJ situation. Validate who the person is. Was he really who he said he was? Found out where he got this information. We're going to verify who that person is. Follow the chain of custody to see if it's really something that's truthful, or if it's a very, very cruel hoax. Because if it's a hoax, it's a very cruel one to do that to Miss Johnson.
The sheriff says his office will not be releasing the audio recording at this time.
The Lowndes County Sheriff is investigating new possible evidence in the case of a teen found dead in a high school gym. Kendrick Johnson's family say they recently obtained a recording of someone who may be confessing to killing him. The 17-year-old was found dead in a rolled-up gym mat in his high school 8 years ago. An autopsy ruled his death an accident, but his family has always believed he was killed. They turned over the 25-second recording to the sheriff earlier this week.
And I quote, "They're going to catch me anyways. I should have never done this. I was young and stupid. Kendrick didn't deserve this, man." A couple of seconds go by and he ends with a very tearful, "They're going to catch me anyways."
The family says the audio was secretly recorded by the person's family member who sold it to them for $1,000. Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Paulk says they are working to authenticate the clip and will ask the GBI for help. He also confirmed the recording may possibly be someone already questioned in the case. Earlier this month, the sheriff announced he was reopening this case after getting new evidence from a federal investigation.
A Georgia sheriff is reopening the investigation into the mysterious death of a teenager more than 8 years ago. Surveillance video shows Kendrick Johnson less than 24 hours before he died in January 2013. His body was later found inside a rolled-up gym mat at his Valdosta High School. Investigators quickly ruled it an accident, but his parents have never believed that. Mark Strassman spoke to Johnson's family about what they hope to learn. We want to warn you, some of the details are disturbing.
We want to know what happened to Kendrick Johnson, why nothing has been done, and why nobody has been held accountable.
Jacqueline Johnson wants justice for her youngest son.
You feel that loss every day?
Every day, every second of the hour.
In January of 2013, surveillance videos showed Kendrick Johnson walking the hallways at his high school. Sometime in the next 24 hours, the 17-year-old three-sport athlete died. His body found the next day, rolled up head first in this wrestling mat.
Kendrick was in one of the places that should have been the safest place for him to be at. Kendrick wasn't on no corner. Kendrick was at school trying to get his education.
State investigators ruled the death an accident. They initially said Johnson dove into the mat to retrieve a shoe, got stuck, and died from positional asphyxia. But two other autopsies requested by the family in the following months determined blunt force trauma to the neck caused his death.
I know that my son was beat to death and rolled up in the mat. I'm not going to even say think again. I know my son was beat to death.
No way in your mind it was an accident.
No way.
A federal civil rights investigation followed, but in 2016, the Department of Justice determined it lacked evidence to file hate crime charges, as it would have needed to prove he was killed because of his race. That investigation's results were sealed. But now, for the first time, investigators will have access to that evidence, coupled with the state's original files. Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Paulk was not part of the original investigation, but will lead the new one.
I made them a promise. I made the people of this county a promise. I'm pretty well known for keeping my promises.
Marcus Coleman is the Johnson family spokesman.
Now that this investigation has been reopened in the sheriff's department, we feel like those array of charges that literally fit what happened to Kendrick can now be applied.
And what do you think those charges will be?
Murder. Will be. We're hoping, sir, we're cautiously optimistic that murder will be dealt down here.
A fresh look that could mean different answers for this family. For CBS This Morning, I'm Mark Strassman.
Thank you, Mark Strassman. Now, I remember that story very well, and it never made any sense to me. How could you be accidentally rolled up in a mat that heavy, number one?
It takes a whole bunch of people to roll them.
Makes no sense. I'm glad the family's pursuing it because your heart goes.
All right, we want to turn now to our top story. A family full of heartbreak, confusion, and agony is reacting this morning after the Lowndes County Sheriff's Office reopened the case of their loved one, Kendrick Johnson. The teenager found dead, rolled up inside a gym mat back in 2013. A family spokesperson says the past few years have been tough. Johnson's death was originally ruled accidental, but things could change. There are now more questions surrounding the high-profile case. Mara Siriani joining us live from GBI headquarters this morning. And Mara, Kendrick's mother says she's feeling hopeful with the next steps in this case here.
She is, Sheba. They're also not buying the story that his death was accidental. They believe their son was murdered. Now, 8 years later, along with the Lowndes County Sheriff, they'll be able to view evidence in the case with their own eyes. So, as we mentioned, the 17-year-old's body was found rolled up in a gym mat. This was in January of 2013 inside the Lowndes County High School. Now, the initial investigation concluded that Johnson accidentally slipped and fell while his family exhumed their son's body twice for independent autopsies that showed blunt force trauma as the cause of death. It also showed some of Johnson's organs were missing. Lowndes County Sheriff Ashley Paulk says 2 years ago his office requested documents and they were finally just granted access to 17 boxes of paperwork and hard drives to review. Activist Marcus Coleman has worked with Kendrick's family the entire time to get justice. He says this is a step in the right direction.
It took us 8 years and 2 months. Those 17 boxes are in Lowndes County for a reason.
I want to start fresh with it and look at it all the way through. I think the community deserves it.
No. And Sheriff Paulk expects this investigation to take about 6 months. He also says they'll go back and re-interview those who are connected to the case.
So, of course, we know about the possible 25-second confession tape that the Johnsons turned over law enforcement, but way back in 2014 there was an email as well. I wonder if it's the same person.
All right, we're following some breaking news in the Kendrick Johnson case. This was the young man found dead in a rolled-up gym mat at his high school. Victor Blackwell, CNN correspondent who's been covering the story, joins me and Mike here. And this is a huge development involving a potential confession?
Yes, this is an email. Essentially, you go to the LowndeSheriff.com website and you click anonymous tip and you can send in the information. I have the message right here. I'm going to actually, for the first time, read portions of it. This writer, the sender, says that 2 students, we're not going to name them because no one has been named a suspect and they're minors, but it says these 2 students met KJ and killed him. And then it goes on to say that one of the students has been heard admitting to killing KJ more than once over the phone. Now, again, this person does not even claim to have heard the confession, him or herself. But it's big. This is a development because of all the tips and all the comments that have come in through that website, and we know there have been many because we have them, we requested them, this is the first time since the sheriff's office closed its investigation in May that it is actively looking into a tip.
So the sheriff's office is now looking at it. They're the ones who closed case. This was an accidental death.
Yes. Not
the FBI.
Not the FBI.
Yeah. Interesting.
This is the sheriff's office.
That's very big. Now, what steps are they taking now? First, they've got to figure out who sent the email, right?
Yes. Well, what they've done is they've asked the DA, J. David Miller, there in the Southern District of Georgia, to issue a subpoena, and they have to a communications company to get the sender's information, the address, the phone number, the service name, all of that to find out who sent the email. The second thing, this message came in on January 27th. On the 28th, of the 4 students who were named in this message, Lowndes County investigators went out to interview 2 of them. Now, the 2 students, they acknowledged they knew Kendrick Johnson, but they, of course, denied any involvement in his death.
Now, have these 2 names come up in the investigation before?
These 2 names have come up before.
Interesting.
Now, do they have lawyers? Do we know?
We do not know if they have lawyers. There's no mention in the incident reports of attorneys being there, but there are members of the family there. Of course, when you're interviewing minors, you want the parents there, you want some guardian there. But we do know that the parents were there and they were interviewed. Now, there's no mention, there's no indication whether the investigators went to even try to speak with the other 2 students who were mentioned in the statement.
Now, but it also could be an investigative process. You know, they interview 2 and then wait to see what happens with the other 2, if there's any communication. So that's a good possibility of that, too.
And is there anything specific about the way in which they allege he was killed?
Well, there are specifics here, but we're not going to release those because we know this investigation continues. But there's one thing that I think is pretty important here, and Mike and I talked about this just before we came on air. When we looked over the police reports from the original investigation, there were more than 100 interviews. Right. The lion's share of those happened 3 months after Kendrick Johnson was found dead in that mat. This happened the very next day. And I don't know if I can glean anything from that, but of all the tips that came in and all the ones that they, I guess, did not determine were credible, this they hit the very next day.
And how about Kendrick's parents? Their reaction to this?
Well, they're hopeful. I mean, they say that every time there's a new set of eyes on this case, that they're looking forward to a day that they get the justice they believe they deserve by someone being arrested. But Kendrick Johnson's father, Kenneth Johnson, told me they won't feel anything until there is an arrest. All of this is good, and it brings them hope. But they want to see someone arrested for their son's death.
What's the bottom line you're taking from all this, Mike?
I think the investigation, this could possibly, if it's credible, move and get an investigation forward. And it's interesting, the Lowndes Sheriff's Department is handling this in a timely fashion, but also you've got the FBI who's also looking at this case, and maybe that's the impetus why they went ahead and did the interview the next day of at least 2 of them.
Yeah.
So, of course, we have to mention the possible suspects. Even though prior to the investigation being reopened, they were cleared. So far, they're still on my radar.
Now, a Channel 2 Action News investigation into the mystery surrounding the death of a Valdosta teenager found in an upright gym mat at school. 2 young men at the focus of the Kendrick Johnson controversy have declined to talk to investigators, a grand jury, and an on-camera interview until now. Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie live outside FBI headquarters in DeKalb County with these exclusive interviews. Mark?
And at last check, this case remained a focus of federal investigation. But we are outside the FBI's Atlanta field office because that is where we're told Agent Rick Bell was assigned, and both his sons are the subject of target letters from a federal prosecutor. And now we hear from them at last.
I'm going to ask my photographer to push in tight on your face. Okay. Our viewers can read your expression. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No. He was like one of my good friends.
Even at the time of his death?
Even at the time of his death.
You know, every word we broadcast of this is going to be scrutinized by the blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, and so on.
Yes, sir. It should be. And I want everybody to know the truth. And I mean, they can ridicule me and they can say whatever they want, but in the end, the truth will prevail. And everybody will find that me and my brother have been innocent and always will be innocent.
We've just heard what family attorneys acknowledge sheriff's deputies, the GBI, and a federal grand jury have not heard. Brothers Brian and Brandon Bell answering questions, no holds barred, about the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson in 2013.
He was the laughter of our house. He was the joy of our house, and he gives us strength to keep fighting.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to
positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out. But Kendrick Johnson's mom takes issue with that.
Are you more convinced today than ever that KJ was the victim of foul play?
Yes.
And with some of what the Bells say.
No, they weren't friends.
And in a lawsuit, Johnson's parents allege a group, including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
None of the allegations that were made were without research.
But both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Did you see Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir, not at any point during that day.
Where were you?
I was in class. First block, second block, third block, and fourth block.
Close to the gym?
No.
Did you see Kendrick that day?
No. I did not.
The suit suggests the brothers sought revenge for a brief fight between Brian and Kendrick on a team bus.
A year before, I mean,
what was
we're
that
still
about,
friends.
anyway?
So I can't even remember. I mean, it was so small to us, like it was ridiculous.
Your brother had a football scholarship offered to FSU.
Yes, sir, he did.
They pulled it back.
On signing day.
So how low did you get?
To the lowest you can go.
Letters from the Macon U.S. Attorney's Office suggest both Bells are targets of grand jury investigation. The letters suggest possible civil rights violations.
My objective is to only get justice for my son.
Have you prayed for the Johnsons?
Yes, sir. I have. I hope that they found justice, and I hope that they do find out the truth about their son.
I pray for the truth to come out about what happened to my son.
Now, there's lots more. These interviews were extensive. No lawyers present, no parents present. We plan to have a lot of all new excerpts coming up on Channel 2 Action News at 6, including both Bell brothers talking about federal search warrants executed at their residences in recent weeks and what searchers may have been after. For now, I'm live outside FBI Atlanta headquarters in DeKalb County. Mark Winnie, Channel 2 Action News.
Two sons of an FBI agent are describing raids on their residences in recent weeks in connection with an investigation into the death of a Valdosta high school student found rolled up in a gym mat. And their mother says they have not spoken to prosecutors, police, or the grand jury. But now they've talked to Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winnie. Mark live in DeKalb County with excerpts from those interviews that are new since 5. Mark.
That's right. We are live outside the Atlanta field office of the FBI. We are told that is where the father of Brian and Brandon Bell was assigned, though he worked out of Valdosta. But it was another federal agency that apparently showed up at his son's residences recently.
This is where they knocked the morning of around 5 a.m. You can see the scuff marks from the shoes as the U.S. Marshals knocked.
I was laying in bed. I got a bang on my door.
Tactical gear?
Yes, sir, to the nth degree.
They were just like, it's about the Kendrick Johnson case, the ongoing Kendrick Johnson investigation.
Brandon Bell says what he and brother Brian Bell woke up to in two different rental places July 21st was worse than a bad dream. Deputy U.S. Marshal serving search warrants in connection with the mysterious death of Kendrick Johnson at Lowndes High School in 2013.
I was just really shocked.
I broke down and cried.
I really had no reason in my head why they would be here.
It just keeps on getting worse.
One might imagine Kendrick Johnson's mom feels like she's in a nightmare that won't end.
Kendrick gives me strength. You know, he was our baby. He was my son.
The Lowndes County Sheriff says after a thorough investigation, his office agrees with the state medical examiner that Johnson's death was an accident due to positional asphyxia, that he wedged himself in a rolled-up gym mat trying to reach a shoe and could not get out.
I would imagine practically every one of your viewers sat scratching their head.
And a lawsuit by Johnson's parents alleges a group including the Bell brothers, sons of an FBI agent, violently assaulted their son, leading to his death.
My only angle is to find justice for my son.
But the Bell's civil attorneys, Patrick O'Connor and Bryce Ladson, say the July 21st search warrants sought text messages, emails, and the like relevant to alleged witness tampering and obstruction of justice.
Is it possible you were involved in any witness tampering or obstruction?
No, sir. In no possible way whatsoever.
Have you obstructed justice in any way?
No.
Have you tampered with any witnesses, tried to influence anybody, tried to stop somebody from talking in the Kendrick Johnson investigation?
No.
Where our viewers can look in your eyes. Did you have anything to do with the death of Kendrick Johnson?
No, sir. Nor me or my family had anything to do with his death.
Both Bells maintain they have rock-solid alibis.
Where were you?
I was in class.
Videos, pictures, and theories abound online about what happened, some involving school surveillance video. We talked to Brandon Bell about his appearance.
I was changing clothes before I had to leave for the wrestling tournament that we were going to. And I went in there to check my weight the first time. I changed, and then the shirt that was assumed to have blood on it that they had circled and said blood, it actually said RLX. It's a type of polo.
How's it feel to get your side out?
Great. Because I finally, we've just been sitting here. Not just letting everybody else talk. You know, it's our time to talk.
Now, a March 2013 document in the file suggests an attorney told the sheriff's office that after consulting with the father of Brian and Brandon Bell, he advised them not to make a statement. We are posting extensive raw video at WSBTV.com, and tomorrow on Channel 2 Action News at 5, video identified as a raid on the home of FBI agent Rick Bell, and what his wife has to say about whether the level of force on display was appropriate under the circumstances.
Kids missing just sickens my mood. Now I got an attitude. You think I won't battle fool? I will slap the fuck out of you. Maybe I am a radical. Charged up with a matador. You don't love the kids, why do you got them for? Tell the truth, how they got out the door. These cases I can't ignore. You damn right I want your face on the floor. We lacking info pimping, I'ma need more. See, it's the truth that we want. You're supposed to love your kid, the truth is you don't. Somebody bring them parents up to the front. Them kids been missing for months. Damn right I'm mad, pimp, I done had enough. Oh, my business, bitch, I don't give a fuck. I might just tear this shit up. Now we got summer, we got horse, and we got orange. Like the parents, they don't care. I'm like, what the fuck you doing? All of the YouTubers pursuing. They do more than what you doing. Now how the fuck you gonna influence? Your reputation done been ruined. they taking these kids? I'm so sick of this shit, why? Remember that kid they left in the car? Sydney Dill, she had a bum for a father, and it was hot as Nevada. Just break the window, but he wouldn't even bother. He making kids, now that's really a problem. What about that fella Kawan? The lady picked him up was a mom. Now Kawan was a friend with a son. I can't believe what they done. They found his body in the sugar cane field. Now his parents gotta shed some real tears. This ain't how the fuck we supposed to live. If you got a kid, show them that you love them. Cause they leaving on the dub. Protect them, gotta keep them covered. Cause there's some evil motherfuckers plotting, waiting just to touch them. Don't you think this shit is nuts? They taking kids out by the dozen. It's so many living in your city limits. If you think that they offended, that mean you think this again. It only take a single minute. Evaluate the way you live. This was a blessing you was given. It's gonna hit you different if your child just end up missing. Why they taking these kids? I'm so sick of this shit. Why they taking these kids? I'm so sick of this shit. Why they taking these kids? I'm so sick of this shit. Why?
I brought my creativity to YouTube in May of 2021. And the slideshow that you've seen, it highlights every case that I've touched, every story I've tried to tell and shine a light on. That is not me gloating. That is me saying, why the hell is the list so big? Now, all of that didn't happen in 2021. Those are just all the stories I shined my light on because they caught my attention. They moved my heart. But why do I have a year's worth of stories in only 7 months? And a to-do list a mile long? If only I had more months in the year. It's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. I didn't set out to make a true crime channel, and I don't intend to become that. It's just that this channel is about things that I admire, things I represent, things that I wish that more people at least knew about. That was the whole and only concept. And in doing that, I guess even I've had to realize, and I knew I was true crime, but I guess I'm a lot more true crime than I realized. So it dominates the channel. But it's not the only thing you have seen or will see here. I won't say that. But you will see it, and a lot of it. And I don't share it for fun and entertainment. I don't. That might be what the fair use says, but I don't share it for entertainment purposes only. I don't want to get emotional. And this is not about me. It's about what this channel has made me truly realize. You know, the world is hurting. And people need help. So, of December, we're going to dry our eyes and we're going to use our voices. And I would like to share with you, reshare with you, as many of the stories as I can that I have shared during this year. I pray that in the coming year, these families will have justice and peace. And to help them find it, I only ask that you click that button that says share. If you care about these people, do what you can to help them. That's all I'm doing. So look out for it. All month long, every single day. We started with Echo Lloyd, and I don't know what the next will be. I'll pull from my playlist and I'll pull from my heart. One last shot at it in 2021. Maybe even get justice. Well, that's all I got. I'll see you in the comments and every day in December.